Hello there, welcome to my channel. My name is Kristen. Here I like to talk about social and cultural issues, usually through the lens of pop culture and public figures, usually but not always. On Wednesdays I post more structured videos, and on Thursdays I've been posting less structured and planned videos and still trying to talk about similar topics. So this is a Thursday video. You'll notice I'm in a new location. I am cat sitting. This is Daisy. She is a precious baby and she misses her parents. Yes, baby. And yes, I do have permission to film here. So yeah, let's get into what I wanted to talk about today, which unfortunately is Gabbie Hanna again. She does a good job of keeping her name in the news. I will give her that. So yeah, let's just start. So Jessie Smiles and her had a call, in my understanding. Yes, Daisy. Daisy doesn't like when people are talking to not her. She talks a lot if you're talking and you're not talking to her, which I think is adorable. Daisy is the main character. So there was the call between them two leaked, and in this call you hear some pretty disturbing things. You hear her tell, this is what I think is the worst thing in the call. She told Jessie essentially, if you don't issue a public apology and a retraction of what you've said about me, which was essentially just Jessie said factual things about Gabbie, such as that Gabbie associated with Curtis Lepore, who, you know, ideally you already know who he is. I'm not going to explain. She told her that if she didn't take it back and apologize publicly, that she would continue to talk about Jessie's SA, essentially because she claimed that she needed to like clear her name or something like that, when again Jessie never said anything false about her. So basically she's threatening an old friend with, I'm gonna keep bringing up this thing that's really triggering to you over and over and over again until you take back everything you've said about me, which is just like really awful thing to do, even to somebody that you hate. You know what I mean? Like, that is off the walls awful. And if you listen to the conversation, which frankly I don't recommend listening to it, it's upsetting, but if you listen to it, you'll hear how at every step of the conversation she twists everything Jessie says back on her to constantly try to make herself the victim, and it's incredibly manipulative and concerning behavior. In this call, she also admits to having let Curtis tell his side to her, and she excuses it by saying she wanted to like catch him in a lie or defend Jessie, which, if that's true, it reveals a very self-centered perspective, almost a hero complex, like she's gonna play detective and save the day by finally getting him to admit what he did, even though he did admit it in a court of law. Baby. Yes, Daisy. And, you know, just like an indicator of, again, just continuing to make things about herself and refusing to consider that other people maybe should be prioritized, such as the actual person affected by what happened, which is Jessie. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about in relation to Gabbie Hanna. And then there's the BuzzFeed article, which is just full on like trying to simp for Gabbie and paint her in like a relatable, sympathetic light, but even so, in my opinion, still managing to fail to do that. Personally, I think my video about her actually did a pretty decent job of like not making her look terrible, which was not necessarily my intention. It was just kind of the consequence of the story structure that I went for, because I was trying to do like a Greek tragedy. She's the tragic hero of the story because she's the main character type thing, but the tragic hero has to be kind of likable. You have to like wish for them to do better, and that's like part of the tension of the story. So I couldn't get into just how you know, bad she's been, because then it wouldn't have worked for my story, which is, you know, you can criticize that. I could criticize that about myself. But anyway, my point is, one, I did a better job of making her look good than the BuzzFeed article did, because I knew better than to include every terrible thing that she's ever done, because you're not going to make something that, anyway, if you were trying to do a puff piece for Gabbie Hanna, I don't think you should have listed out all of the bad things that she's done, because even when you downplay it, it sounds really awful. But in this article, there were a few like weird behaviors that I found to be kind of manipulative, just like what I pointed out from the Jessie Smiles call, which was, first of all, when the author arrived at Gabbie Hanna's house, Gabbie told her to just let herself in, and then just made the author like walk through the house and like try to find Gabbie. I think she finally found her upstairs when she was like in the middle of doing something else, which is just like it's a weird power move, if you ask me. It's like trying to like assert like, yeah, I'm more important than you, you know, I'm like fitting you into all this other stuff, and like you're lucky I'm talking to you. I can't even be bothered to like send my assistant to get the door, let alone get the door myself, or like actually set aside time for this interview I agreed to do. So that's like interesting. And I mean, you know, there's something to be said for interviewing somebody like while they're in their element, so I get that, but it's just, I think it's interesting the way things started off with Gabbie kind of setting herself up as like this interesting, you know, person that doesn't have to even get the door for you or welcome you into her home. And then she says that the interview began with Gabbie telling everybody, okay, what's your most embarrassing moment? And making everybody go around the room and tell their most embarrassing moment. Which again is like a weird move. Just like a note for anybody who, you know, is watching this, like, if somebody's trying to make you like tell them compromising things about yourself and like painful memories and your insecurities and stuff, that person is digging for dirt. That's questionable, right? Like, you need to question that person's intentions. Here with Gabbie, it feels like she wants to kind of establish a dynamic with her as like the queen bee, you know, if we make a Pretty Little Liars reference, the ally of the group. And I think it's really odd behavior, especially because the people in the room were the writer, her assistant, and I think like someone else who works on her team. So it's all people that either are employed by her or who want her to like them because they're trying to get good quotes for an article. So she's like using her kind of position to make them tell her embarrassing stuff, which I assume she could then use against them if she wanted to, or more likely use it to create a false sense of intimacy where you forcing people to share embarrassing moments kind of forces this feeling of like, you know each other better than you actually do. It's a manipulation tactic, just like we saw her doing in the phone call with Jessie. So all of this is to say, it's just like, watching those phone calls and reading the article and just having everything she's ever done listed in front of me, which, to be frank, I did not go research her entire history for my video. I picked specific points that I kind of already knew about that fit the story structure. But going and looking through all this stuff and like seeing everything at once, it's just like, it shocks me how somebody can, I don't know, act in this way and still seem to not have any self-awareness about just how like bad they've been acting. I don't know, it's just, it's hard for me to understand that type of person. Yeah, so that's today's Thursday video, me kind of ranting about Gabbie Hanna. I want this to be conversational, so I'm not really scripting it. I just kind of like wrote like a list of like things I wanted to hit on. Let me know what you think. What's like the worst part about, you know, her history in your opinion? Is it the way she treated her friend? Is it, you know, manipulating her followers? Is it the way she purposefully stirs up drama and scandals to promote herself? I kind of think it's the way she behaves interpersonally. Like, the harm that she actually caused to Jesse, and you know, the strain that she has put certain other public figures like Rachel Oates through. That's like the worst. Oh, and speaking of Rachel Oates, actually, I want to talk about her a little bit. Some people, you know, they bring her up because Gabbie sent a lot of her fans after her and harassed her, and Gabbie said some pretty awful things about her. She called her the B word in this article. She's called her ugly. Just really unnecessary stuff. And she claims that Rachel has like harassed her and that her parody book was like making fun of her and all this stuff. The Dog Lessons book. And I just wanted to say, like, first of all, I've watched a lot of Rachel's poetry review videos, not just of Gabbie, but of other people. She's very fair and generous towards authors, and she's never been someone who hits below the belt. Yes, Daisy. And, two, the Dog Lessons book, which is, Rachel had billed it as sort of like, kind of like a parody of Adultolescence. It's written from the perspective of Rachel's dog, Kira. She says she co-wrote it with her dog. And people are using that as like an example of Rachel being like a bully or being mean, but you have to understand, Gabbie says that her book, Adultolescence, was supposed to be a parody of Shel Silverstein. So Rachel is trying to do basically the same thing Gabbie did. She was parodying another work. So it's like, it's not making fun of her. Anyway, so that's all I have to say. I hope you're having a good week. I hope the audio in this video is not terrible. I'm trying these for a microphone today, and I know that you'll be able to hear like the buzzing of the air conditioning next door. There's nothing I can do about that because I'm outside. But that's where the cat is. So, I hope you have a good day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate everybody who takes some time to hear things that I have to say. And yeah, I hope you have a really good rest of your day. And yeah, bye.